Now for this course section, I updated our project code a little bit. You find this updated snapshot attached. What did I do? I added a new input folder in the components folder. So in the components folder, there is this new input folder, which contains a bunch of components which we're going to need in this module. These are all regular React components, no page components, which we are going to use for fetching user input and for then talking to the API routes. Now I have not added any API routes. The only other changes I made, besides adding these components, is that I'm using these components. In the events folder, in the pages folder, in this event ID component, I added the comments component here at the bottom of this JSX code. And in the index.js file, so in the homepage component, there I added the newsletter registration. So if you install all dependencies and you run this updated snapshot, then on the starting page, you will see that email, this newsletter sign up part here. And if you explore a single event, there, if you scroll to the bottom, you'll see this show comments button, which you can click to view the comments form and some dummy comments, which we're going to replace with actual comments throughout this section. Now that is the starting state. And now I got a challenge for you. I want you to add a couple of API routes that handle the newsletter sign up, so that in the end handle an incoming email address, and then for the moment maybe just log it to the console, so you don't need to add any code that writes to a file or talks to a database, though you can also do that as an extra exercise. But for this task here, just make sure that you accept some request from which you retrieve the email, and make sure that such a request is then sent from the front end, from this newsletter registration component here in the registration handler. Make sure you send the request to that API route which you should add. You can also add validation for the user input to check whether the entered email was valid, but that is up to you and not something you have to add. Now that is the first challenge, the first task. It's not the only one though. We also got this comments section, and there I want you to do a similar thing. Add another API route that allows users to submit comments, and make sure that this API route is kind of dynamic, that the ID of the event to which the submitted comment belongs is part of the URL of the API route. So you'll need to create a dynamic API route here. Then again, handle incoming requests and make sure you extract that submitted data, and also handle the case that a request is sent to fetch the data. So you will need to handle two different HTTP methods. For the newsletter API route, it was only one method. You should handle post requests there. But for the comments API route, you should handle two different HTTP methods. Incoming post requests, which add a new comment, and incoming get requests, which fetch comments. Again, for the moment, it is enough if you just log the data, if you just log something in your API route. You don't need to write any other logic. Just return some dummy data in the get request case, and make sure you do send data and fetch data. We have this add comment handler in comments.js where you should send that comment data to your API route, and then also find a way of fetching comments when the list of comments here is shown. So when that comment list is shown, make sure you then fetch comments from the API route. And again, for the moment, it's okay if you just return some dummy data there. Just make sure you implement the base logic and you add those API routes. Now, definitely try it on your own first. In the next course lectures, we're going to add those features together step by step, And therefore, of course, also have a look at those lectures once you tried it on your own to see how I solved it and to compare your solution to mine and maybe improve or fix your solution if you got stuck somewhere. And with that, let's dive in.